What's up, YouTube? So we just had a recent OTA, and most of the changes a little underwhelming, I think. Couple point changes here and there, cost changes, but the one that was, in my opinion, the most exciting for deck building was Sauron, a card that I never play. It's so limited, there's basically only a handful of cards it feels like you can really play it with, and of course, in this deck I'm about to show you, a lot of those cards are there. The new card Starbrand, Typhoid Mary, Red Skull, normal cards that you play with Sauron, Ebony Maw, but I decided to try a little bit of a different shell. I added in Agamotto, really to just kind of round out the curve, and it kind of went off. This deck was very strong for me. The addition of some other cards that nobody really plays right now, Bruce Banner and Thaddeus, Thunderbolt Ross, were surprisingly good too. A lot of cool little interactions in the deck. I'm going to go over card by card, tell you what each of them has a place in the deck for, and then we'll get into some gameplay. I think this is a fun one. A couple of really funny moments in the video and some locations that just work great with this deck, so I was impressed with it. Let's go ahead and look at the card by card. So first up, Ebony Maw. Obviously you're going to run cards like this in a Sauron deck. It just makes it a 1/7 late in the game. You're never going to play this on turn 1, very rarely, unless you have something like a location that nullifies the effect. You're going to hold on to it, and that is why I decided to add a couple other early game cards. No other 1-drops, but you do have Temporal Manipulation from Agamotto. We'll get to that in a little bit. Bruce Banner, this is another early game card that I wanted. Originally, I had Lizard in this deck, because Lizard is a card that you play in pretty much all Sauron decks. But my thinking here was, because this is an Agamotto deck as well, I just would much rather Images of Icon a Bruce that never transformed than a 2/6 Lizard. I'd rather that kind of like be a good stat line like it is. And in this deck, Bruce, having just been buffed recently to 33% chance, somewhat often, if you play it early, and you're going to want to because you have no other early plays other than Thaddeus and Sauron, it's going to transform, and a 2/12 is just really good. If it doesn't, you can Images of Icon it away. So, pretty strong, honestly. Better than I thought. Sauron, this is the deck. Many cards in here that it's going to negate. Not much to say here, other than the fact that a 2/2 body isn't strong, but with Images of Icon, that can just be a body on the board that you need. You need a couple things like that in this deck. Thaddeus, there's a bunch of 10+ power cards in the deck, and it's just incidental card draw, which is especially useful in this deck because Agamotto dilutes the card pool. It might be right to just build a deck like this without Agamotto, but I wanted to try it out because there's some really cool interactions, and Thaddeus is a way to mitigate the loss of, all those cards being at hand. Draws you to your hand if your opponent skips energy, which honestly, it's a pretty greedy meta, so I was drawing cards with this more often than I thought I would. Starbrand, this obviously is built for the Sauron archetype, and not much else to say other than the fact you can Enchantress on top of Starbrand, so keep that in mind when you're doing positioning if you don't have Sauron before you play Starbrand. Ares, this is the card that I went back and forth on a lot. Normally Ares is a slam dunk in a Sauron Scar type of deck. However, in this deck, which I found out in the first game I played, Ares didn't go off because the Agamotto cards don't count. So if you have a couple Agamotto cards on top, Ares can brick. So it's possible that the better play here is something like Crossbones, or just another early drop, or something like a utility card like Nico. But for now, Ares still hits, more often than not, I would say. So I think Ares is okay. We'll see in the future. Enchantress, this is a backup plan for your giant, big drawback ongoing cards in case you don't get Sauron, or it's just an offensive tool against what quite frankly is a lot of ongoing in the meta right now. Plus ongoing is coming in the next season, so I think Enchantress is going to have a place in the meta and be really around. I personally hate seeing this card against me because I play a lot of ongoing, but in a Sauron deck, I love it, and it plays a great offensive and defensive role. Plus this variant, come on, the Embers. Typhoid Mary, it's 4/10, it's got the ongoing that you're gonna turn off a Sauron. Nothing else to say about Typhoid Mary. Agamotto, I do have a lot to say about this card. The skills and the fact that Agamotto is a 5/10 that you can draw into hand with Temporal Manipulation, it's just great for this type of deck. It guarantees you most of the time, a lot of the time, to have a 5-drop, and a lot of times it's going to be a 5/13 with Temporal Manipulation, which you don't even have to work for, you know? You don't need the Sauron for it. And that's just Temporal Manipulation. Then you have stuff like Winds of Atum, which everybody knows is pretty strong. It can do a lot of cool things and win you lanes that you don't think you're going to win. Like I won a couple games in this set of games I'm going to show you, just thanks to Winds of Atum. So that's strong. Then you got Bolts of Balthak, which you don't always draw perfectly in a deck with this high of a curve. So the ability to bolt all throughout the curve and have a much bigger impact on future turns is great. Turn 6, when you've bolted, you're going to have 10, and that's a lot. You can play 2 of your 5-drops. You can play some assortment of cards. You can play a 5, a 4, and a Ebony Maw if you've already Sauroned. So, plus the interaction with these skills and stuff like Sinister London and Cloning Vats is broken, frankly. I don't think it should work that way, but for now, you just get so many activations of these skills. And then Images of Icon is the reason I put this in the deck in the first place. You have this chaff up top like Sauron and potentially Bruce if he doesn't transform, Thaddeus, and you have all these gigantic cards that, especially stuff like Scar, is going to be cheap. You can play on top of it and then Images, or if you already bolts the previous turn, you're just going to get huge single lanes with Images of Icon, and that can be really powerful, especially if your opponent thinks that you just have your cheap early drops in there. You can go over the top of them. And that's Agamotto. Red Skull, in line with Typhoid Mary, Starbrand, it's just one of those core cards that you're going to see in every Sauron deck, really. 5/14, obviously negated, is great. And then Eliath, I know it's not a 10 power card anymore, so you would think not to include it in a Scar deck. However, you're going to have priority a lot of the time because you're playing so much early power, and you know, a 3/10, a 4/10, whatever, a 5/13, 5/14, that Eliath works as protection. I don't play armor in this deck because Sauron would turn it off. So Eliath is your way to say you're going to snap because you see this giant lane full of 10, a bunch of 10 power plus cards. Well, I'll just Eliath on top of it. I have priority. They all live, and then you don't win the slam dunk lane that you thought you were going to win. Eliath can just be a I win button, and that's why it's in the deck. And then finally Scar. You're going to have a ton of 10 drop or 10 power cards out there. Scar's going to be a 3 or a 1. Usually, even at a 5, if you have extra energy from bolts or something, Scar is just an auto include in this deck, in my opinion. Which, the question is going to be, why no Surtur in this deck? And maybe Ares should go out for Surtur. It's possible. I just kept thinking that Surtur wasn't going to get to 10 by the time I would want to play Scar, and it just doesn't feel like there's much point. Like, it's a 3/9, but I have other stuff to do. I have a Bruce that could turn into a 12. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I don't think Surtur actually works in this deck after his nerf as well as you might think. But anyway, that is the deck. Please check out this gameplay. It's so much fun. I'm going to keep playing with the deck and see how far it can take me, but for now, let's take a look at the gameplay. Thanos. Okay. I think it's better to Sauron first, right? This Starbrand bug is weird. Okay. So, what do we got? Do we just bolts here? Bolts and Ebony Maw? Or do we Enchantress over here? Might be some better targets on turn 6. Maybe we just play Thaddeus, Ares, a lot of options here. I'm gonna play out Ares. Alright. Scar's getting small. Alright, what's the plan if we bolt? It's gonna give us 10 energy next turn. We could play out Scar and Agamotto and Ebony Maw, essentially. We could draw into Typhoid or Red Skull here. Alright, so we will get a draw. Let's see how we want to do this. Okay, so we could put a decent amount of power out here. Red Skull. So we're down by 11 over here. Can represent 14. They could be playing Shang-Chi, of course. And they have priority. If they Shanged over here in Fenris, this would be 26. And I can add 26. Add 12 with Fenris. Okay, there's Shang. 12 in the middle. And is this nice? That felt pretty good. Got Monster Island and a Sam Cap shield down. Got some ongoing going on there. I'm gonna go over here with Bruce. Play Starbrand in the middle in case we do get Enchantress eventually. That way we'll hit their Ant-Man, Cap, whoever else they put there, and Starbrand at the same time. heavy ongoing deck. I like Typhoid over here. Or do I? Right now we have a potential turn 6 play of Mr. Sinister and Images to get 3 10s. Okay. Sauron, Scar. Sauron, Scar, Sinister. Chimera. That's from the hub, okay. Okay, so we have priority. The question is, where is Goliath going to be best? Or do we just say screw it and do something like Images over here? Ebony Maw here, and hope that Bruce transforms. They're going to be able to play out all their cards though, so Bruce isn't going to transform. And they've got double discounts on Ravonna, so they could play Iron Man. I think it'd be better to Goliath. Maybe. Just give me 30. If they put an Iron Man there, they'd be at 36. Nice. All right. That was the correct play after much thinking. I think we already played this opponent. And nice little head start on the Abbey with their shield. Actually, since I don't have a play right now on turn 3, I'd rather start with Thaddeus than Sauron. Since right now Sauron would be a turn 3 play and I have a better chance of drawing here. Now Sauron. I'm trying to stack here in case we get Images of Icon. There's also the nice play where you can Winds of Tomb on the last turn to win a Mojo World. Oh, they low-key, that's right. Well, they're not going to have the Agamotto cards, though, right? Okay, there's wins. That could be good. I think I'll stack the left lane then. We actually don't have a very good board for Ares right now. And since they have our starting deck, without the Agamotto cards, they're going to have a much better Ares deck. So I'll play Mary. Okay, now I think I like Red Skull, and then next turn I can play Scar and Winds. The only question is what other non-Loki cards they have in their deck, but like do they run Shang-Chi? The only disruption I have in my deck is Eliath. Or Shang-Chi. At least we know it's gone. Unfortunately, I now can't play Scar, but we can still do Starbrand. Oh, maybe one card short. Darn it. So what are the chances that they try to just win these? What card could they put here that would beat my 14? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 cards in my deck that would do it. They got one of them. Oh my gosh. That was... I misplayed that so badly and I still won. That was so lucky. Don't do as I do, kids. Oh, that could be good for us. Wow, they snap on Wakanda. What on earth are they playing? Give ourselves a chance to bruise here. Sauron next turn, potentially. They're playing a Sauron deck too. Makes sense. Ooh. Yes, I will take your Ebony Maw. Alright, we got big on big. Oh, got their Scar. I don't know what they've been getting from us though on those two. So Sauron doesn't work. Oh, it does. It's just not visually showing it. Interesting. I think Starbrand, Ebonimoth. That's our Typhoid, right? Yeah. So we know one of the cards they got from us. There's my own Scar. Typhoid. You can transform if you'd like, Bruce. Nope, I played a 5, of course. Discount double stack. So they've got 2. Their Scar is going to be a 3 cost as well. If they play it here, they'll be at 43. I'm about to go to less than that. Unless Bruce transforms, that would be 36, 46. Come on, Bruce. Maybe they didn't play 6 mana worth. 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, we still got it. I was thinking they would play something in the middle. Double temporal manipulation sounds good. These Agamotto skills are just busted with Sinister London. They really are. Keep that Enchantress in our back pocket, potentially. Oh, Sauron. Rather save the bolts for Sinister London at some point. There's Enchantress. We can either Ares now, or we can Bolts now, which will give us 8 and 5 is 13. And we could play something pretty big next turn, including Ares. So we gotta fear Gambit. So maybe we just take priority here and then Alioth Gambit, because they're gonna want to Gambit on Sinister London. And they'll probably wait on that. So we just Agamotto. Red Skull. Or do we Agamotto, Ares, Enchantress? Nice. Okay. I can't imagine this loses, but probably just a retreat. We actually hit both Morbius, which is crazy. Yeah, that Gambit wouldn't have got it done anyway, most likely. They would have had to have insanely lucky hits. Alright, so that's the deck. I was very impressed. I'm not a Sauron player, I'm not a Scar type of player, but shocked by the way that this one turned out. I think it might still need some retooling, but the Agamotto inclusion was way better than I thought. I just kind of put it in to get a little extra oomph, a little something to play on turn 1, honestly. And then I thought Images of Icon might be good with fixing up Sauron and its low power and Thaddeus and stuff later in the game, and it did that and more. Bolts of Balthok was just incredible in this deck. Gives you so much more leverage, especially with a cheap Scar. Try this deck out. It's my favorite Sauron deck by far that I've ever played, and I think that after the OTA, this is the perfect time to give it a shot. So yeah, go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you want more decks like this, and I'll be churning out as many deck guides as I can. Leave a comment. As you may have seen, if you're regular to the channel, which I have a few of you, I respond to every single comment, and happy to do that. Happy to have a little bit of a community going, small as it may be. You never know, we could go somewhere. So thanks again, and I'll catch y'all later.